everybody, this is Arkady Frekhtman, a New York City personal injury trial attorney, and today we're talking about how long versus how much. And those are probably the two most frequently asked questions that our viewers and our clients ask us. And that is, how long is my case going to take? I was doing a few Last Week Tonight episodes where I answer people's comments on this channel, and I saw 2 or 3 questions, and the questions were basically saying, okay, once you get a mediation, how much longer until I settle my case? If I have a mediation going on, or if I have a settlement conference, how many of these conferences do I need to settle my case, to get my money? And see, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding by people, by clients, maybe because they're not getting the right information from their lawyers. But it's not a question of how many conferences. In fact, you might not need any conferences. It's just a question of how strong the case is and how the case gets built up. If the case is strong enough and you can show the defense attorney and the insurance company that, hey, if you don't pay me fair value, then I'm going to get much more with a jury, then they're going to pay you quickly and they're going to pay you fair value. But if you can't show that to them for whatever reason, then they could say, well, why should we pay? Let's just delay. Let's push this case over. Maybe we could get it dismissed on a technicality. Maybe we could make a motion. Maybe, the client might take a smaller amount later on. Meanwhile, their money, their reserves are probably sitting in some investment account, right, with some hedge fund growing. So then why should they just give you their money if they don't have to? So the question is, the real issue is, how do you make them pay? How do you compel them to pay? So that's what a good lawyer knows how to do. He knows how to push the right buttons. So basically, let's get into this issue of how long versus how much. Now, quick, everyone wants their money quickly. You don't want to wait 10 years to see your money. You want your money as soon as possible. But you also want the case to be built up the right way, and you want to get the right amount, right? Because quick could be good, but quick could also mean that it's like 0, right? That's quick. Or it's very, very low value, like nuisance value. You can get a quick settlement, give them a call. Hey, can I get 10 grand? Okay, sure, I'll settle it for 10 grand. That's great. Let's get rid of this case. You get a check tomorrow. But that's not necessarily what you want, right? As a client, you want fair value. So in my experience, what I've seen is that quick could work on low value cases that are like more high volume, like smaller cases, like little fender benders. That could be quick. But if you have more of a high value case, a serious injury, a life-changing permanent injury, then you may not want to have it super quick. And why is that? It's because the insurance company wants to see that you can get a large amount against them before a jury at trial. They want to see that you can hit them for a big number, because if they see, hey, wait a minute, this is a real lawyer. This is a lawyer that tries cases. This is a lawyer that can hit me for a big number. So that's what they want to see, right? Because remember, what are insurance companies all about? They are about saving their money, right? Protecting their money. And they are about, managing risk. They don't like risk. And they don't like to give their money away. So if they don't have to, they won't. So they'll just keep their money and they'll see, hey, who is this lawyer? Is this a real trial lawyer? Have they done trials? What have their last few results been like? Have they gotten 7-figure results? Have they ever had a case settle or go to trial where a jury returned a verdict for $1 million? No? Well, then why should we pay them? What, you think we're going to be the first one? It's kind of like, statistics. That's what they do. So the insurance company wants to see that not only can your lawyer hit them for a big number, but that your lawyer will hit them for a big number. So one of the factors is the quality of the lawyer, whether they're a trial lawyer. But the other major factor is how they are prosecuting the case, right? So for example, they filed a lawsuit. Okay, the insurance company hired a firm, we answered the lawsuit. So now you filed a lawsuit, you have a complaint out there in court. We appeared and we put in a reply to your complaint. What are you going to do next? Are you going to wait for like 6 months and make the defense lawyer make a motion to try to dismiss your case because you didn't serve a request for a preliminary conference, you didn't serve a bill of particulars, you didn't do anything? Now they're going to say, oh, look, this guy's just waiting. He's treating his cases like a storage facility. Let's give him less value. You see, now they're going to already start devaluing the case. And it's going to take longer, right? Because the lawyer's not doing anything. So, but on the flip side, if you give them the bill of particulars in like a week or two, if you file for the request for the preliminary conference, if you send out requests for discovery that you want to get from them, now all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute. Not only has this lawyer given us everything that we requested, but they're making all these requests of us. Now we have to go and get all these documents. And if we don't, they're threatening a motion with the judge. Oh my God, I better take this seriously. You see, so it's the way that the lawyer approaches the case. It's the way that the lawyer prosecutes the case. That's very, very important. And so yeah, the important thing you have to remember is that they want to manage and they want to lessen their risk and they want to save their money. And it's just the reality, right? People often, I think like the underlying theme, right? The underlying theme to all these questions about how long is this going to take or how much am I going to get is because people almost can't believe that the insurance companies will not be fair. People say, well, look, I was innocent. I was a bystander. I was stopped at a stop sign. I was stopped at a red light. This truck came and they rear-ended me. And I have a life-changing injury. I had a fusion. I have a brain injury. I have PTSD, whatever the injury may be. What's going on? How come they're not being fair? How come they're not giving me a fair amount? This happened to me. This wasn't my fault. Their insured who bought a policy of insurance did this to me. They were clearly negligent. Why are they not offering me a fair amount? And it's because, it's not fair. You just have to accept that. They don't want to play fair. What they want to do is they lobby really strong with a lot of the judges. They lobby with the legislature to pass laws, right? They're billion-dollar companies. So they want to save their money and they want to pay out as little as possible. And they can get their case dismissed on the technicality that it doesn't meet, let's say, the serious injury threshold in New York. There's 9 categories. They'll do that. If they can get it moved, for example, you file a lawsuit in a good venue like Brooklyn and they say, wait a minute, there's something here. I could maybe try to move it to a bad venue like Westchester. Let's do that, right? They'll do everything they can to try to lessen the value or destroy the value of your case. So you just have to accept that. And you can't really think about, is it fair? Oh, it's not fair, because then you're just kind of like crying, but you're not doing anything, right? You have to take action. You have to do something. You have to get a trial lawyer and prepare the case the right way. That's the only way they will be fair. So now the question comes in terms of time, right? How long is this going to take? Does taking a longer time mean that you're going to get more money? Well, not necessarily, right? Longer will mean more if you have a trial lawyer who's building up the case the right way, right? That does take time because the lawyer may need to do things like interview witnesses, get community witnesses, people that know the injured party before they got hurt, people that know the injured person after they got hurt, tell their story, right? You don't want the injured person telling all of their story. You want some people from their life telling their story, coworkers, friends, neighbors, whoever it is. So you want to paint this life picture. That takes time to build that up, right? You want to have witnesses on liability, on the issue of fault, maybe an engineer, safety expert, whatever the case, maybe a trucking expert if it's a truck crash, somebody who's familiar with all of the ins and outs. So that does take time. Then a damages workup is really important too, because you could have somebody who's just treating with a chiropractor, but then they might have a herniated disc. They may need a referral to pain management. They try pain management. If that doesn't work, they may need to have a type of surgery. So you want to go step by step if they need it. If they don't need it, great. They stop their treatment, but they have something, right, that you could hang your hat on. So the lawyer has to be monitoring and taking care of that medical care and working it up, right, to get the absolute maximum amount that you can possibly get for the damages. Because the more damages you have, the more compensation you will receive for those damages. It's very simple. And what I mean by damages is all of the ways that you've been harmed, right? All of the harms and losses. So it could be medical records that you're getting more treatment. It could be surgery, that you need surgery, you're having surgery. But it could also be activities, right? Like loss of enjoyment of life, activities of daily living. You may have enjoyed doing certain things like, I don't know, fishing or playing sports or spending time with your kids. Now you can't do that anymore. Somebody might have a young child, they want to pick up their child. They can't pick up their child. They have too much pain in their back. Right? What is that worth? That could be worth an immense amount of money. But the plaintiffs have to be prepped the right way. They have to be likable. They have to appeal to the jury. The right jury has to be selected. All of this has to fall into place, and it has to be built the right way. So longer can mean more if the lawyers and the client are working together, right? If they're working together, if they're building the right kind of case. But longer could also mean less if, for example, they're just delaying. If it's a lawyer who's just too busy, they have too many cases, they don't have time to even look at your case, and they're giving the case off to someone else who's maybe not experienced, and the case is just like sitting there. Or if the lawyer is not qualified, maybe a lawyer is just not a trial lawyer, they've never tried a case, or they've tried one case and they lost, and they don't have the experience, they don't know how to build the case the right way. But everybody wants to be a personal injury lawyer, everyone wants to spend a few bucks, put an ad on Google or on a billboard and say, hey, come to me. And if they say, hey, wait a minute, that person had a back surgery. Oh, I want that case. Why wouldn't I want that case? That's $1 million case. I can make $300,000. Or if I can get more, I can make maybe $1 million. Of course I want the case. Everybody's, like sharks in the water trying to get these cases. But are these lawyers really qualified to handle these cases? Like, what are they doing with these cases? Like, for example, somebody called me recently and they had a simple case, like a rear end crash. And I looked at the court file and the case is just sitting there for like years and years. Nothing's happening with it. How could that be? It's a rear end crash. Why isn't there a motion for summary judgment? You would get judgment as a matter of law and then put the case on the trial calendar, and then you're going to get a trial date. But the case isn't even on the trial calendar, so that means it's just lingering there. There's no motion filed for summary judgment. So clearly something is wrong here, right? Something is rotten in the state of Denmark, because you could just be sitting there like that forever, because in that particular venue, you would have to wait another 2 or 3 years to get to trial. So this lawyer hasn't even filed a note of issue. So then, wait a minute, and you're not even finished with discovery, and it's been like 3 or 4 years already. So then you're going to finish discovery in another year or two, and then you're going to wait another 3+ years. This is going to be like a 10-year case. A simple rear end, a 10-year case. It just doesn't make sense, So you have to look at that. So there's no simple answer. You have to do this deep dive. You have to really look into the nooks and the crannies, and you have to really get into it and do a deep dive. So yeah, longer could mean less if it's just a delay, if the lawyer is not qualified, if they're not a trial lawyer, or if the lawyer is just going down rabbit holes and wasting their time and suing parties that shouldn't be sued. I mean, you don't see that too often, but sometimes it does happen where people just waste their time. And it could be that they're wasting their time because they're afraid, right? They're afraid to go to court. They're just taking one more deposition. You usually don't need that many depositions. I mean, you take a few depositions and then you put the case on the trial calendar. And then look, if you're not going to get the testimony that you need from the defendants, right? Because the defendants are going to be prepped to say, we don't know anything, we hear nothing, we see nothing. They're going to be prepped. They're going to be witnesses for the insurance company, right? For the insured. They're not going to give you what you need always. So you have to go outside the box and get independent witnesses, maybe former employees or whatever the case may be. But you have to do that. You could do that while the case is on the trial calendar, because those are non-parties. You can question them, and you have to do investigation, find that, and then prove your case. So it just depends on the type of case. But I think this interplay between how long and how much is very, very interesting. So let us know what questions you have about this. But how long? I mean, if you do want to get a big number, like if you want to get 7 figures, meaning $1 million or more, it does usually take time. But you want to make sure that time that it takes is being used the right way, right? If someone is actually optimizing the case, developing the damages, developing the liability, and then they certify the case as trial ready, and then they prepare the case for trial, and then they're ready for the trial. Of course, it's much better to wait the 3 or more years, but then you're going to get a result of, let's say, $2 or $3 million. It's worth the wait, as opposed to trying to settle the case early when you can't even show that you have a case, and then they're going to give you for that same case maybe like 200,000, whereas wait a minute, you got 3 million at trial. Of course it makes sense to wait a few extra years. But on the flip side, if you're just delaying and the case is just lingering or languishing, that could be going on forever. And then that's the worst, because you could have maybe settled the case for the 200,000, after 6 months or after a year. You didn't. And now because it's languishing, you don't have any experts, you don't have any witnesses. You might not even have a case. You might be waiting like 6 or 7 years, and then it's just going to get dismissed at the end. So that's like the worst possible thing. So let us know what you think, but I think this is a very interesting question, and maybe I'll do a few more videos where I give examples and I talk about actual cases to show how this interplay works between how long and how much, because those seem to be like the two most asked questions by our viewers, and we want to give the viewers, we want to give you what you're looking for and the answers to your questions. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what other videos you want to see, and we will see you very soon. Okay, have a great day.